The content of this podcast is provided for general informational purposes only and is not intended as, nor should it be considered a substitute for professional medical advice. I am Karen Nickel, family nurse practitioner, and you are listening to Itchy and Bitchy, a podcast that provides answers to your many unanswered health questions. Before we get started on today's Itchy and Bitchy episode, I would like to share with you my latest project and how you can help me with the project. I am currently doing research to develop an online class to help women in their perimenopausal years, basically age 35 to 50-ish, who have developed symptoms that can include fatigue, insomnia, foggy thinking, low sex drive, body changes, breast tenderness, and mood changes. These women have often been evaluated by a healthcare practitioner and told that all testing completed is normal and are given no answers to address their symptoms. If you are experiencing or know someone who is experiencing this change in life, I would love to connect via Zoom to ask a few questions so I can make sure to develop a course that addresses the most common and most challenging symptoms of perimenopause. I have set up a calendar on Calendly for you or someone you know to schedule an appointment to chat with me about this project within the next 30 days. The link to schedule an appointment is on our Facebook page, INB Podcasts, and on our website, itchyandbitchy.com. I look forward to hearing from you and or from someone you know who is experiencing perimenopausal symptoms and are willing to assist me by taking some time to share your story with me. With your help, I plan on developing a life-changing online course. Okay. On to today's topic, which is about musculoskeletal injury in women over 40 years old. Research has found that for women, the prevalence of falls increases starting at age 40. Falls occur in 9% of women who are 40 to 44 years old, 19% in those 45 to 49 years old, 21% in 50 to 54-year-olds, 27% in 50 to 59-year-old women, and 30% in women 60 to 64 years old. A shocking statistic is that 1 in 3 older adults fall at least once per year. Researchers and doctors have always assumed that falls are a problem that only affects people above age 65. A large study shows that the prevalence of falls is already quite high from age 50 on. In fact, our research shows that there is a sharp increase in the prevalence of falls in women during midlife. So why does this happen? Isn't it bad enough that we're over 40? But no, we start falling down all the time and injuring ourselves. Why? Well, one reason is bone loss. The best bone mass we're ever going to have happens to occur between the ages of 25 and 30. After age 40, we begin to lose bone faster than we can rebuild it, which leads to a lower bone density. Less dense bones become more fragile and susceptible to fractures, including stress fractures, crush fractures in the vertebrae, which can lead to a humped back or loss of height. We also are at higher risk for hip fractures, which usually are the result of a fall. Women in particular are prone to developing osteoporosis, that's the final stage of bone loss or the most serious stage of bone loss, because we stop making hormones. Estrogen slows the breakdown of bone, and progesterone and testosterone build bone. I know we've talked about this many times on this podcast. Replacing hormones once a woman is in menopause will help slow bone loss, if that's an appropriate treatment for you. Loss of muscle mass is also a problem. After age 30, our muscle fibers start to get puny. I'm sure you're happy to hear that piece of info. Here's another piece of good news. Muscle mass loss speeds up as we age, especially if we're sedentary. I hope you're taking a walk while you're listening to this episode. As you can imagine, smaller, weaker muscles are more likely to sustain injury, especially if you decide to start an intense workout regimen without gradually building up strength through proper training and conditioning. Cartilage and tendons become drier. Drier cartilage is more susceptible to wear and tear when we move, so we lose the cushion between our bones, which can lead to osteoarthritis. Tendons also become drier and stiffer, which can make them more likely to tear or rupture when overstretched. Ligaments are less stretchy. These short bands of tissue that connect muscle and bone tear more easily, which is why we are more likely to get ankle sprains, and those sprains typically will take longer to heal. I have so many patients who have had an ankle sprain from just stepping off a curb. And some people are just age faster than others. If you were rough on your body in your youth, you may have a greater than average level of wear and tear on your cartilage and tendons as you approach middle age. I never played team sports when I was growing up, with the exception of being on a swim team. So I tend to have fewer joint problems than the women I know in my age group who participated in track or basketball or soccer. I guess it paid off that I grew up in the middle of Kansas at a time when there weren't too many athletic activities available for girls. It's sad to say, but true. But it did protect my joints. I got to give it that. What are the most common injuries in women over 40 years old? Tennis elbow is the number one reason women over 40 end up at an orthopedist's office. This is an overuse injury. When I was around 50 years old, I was assembling IKEA kitchen cabinets. Many of you might be aware of how involved that can be. It was late at night, and my battery-powered drill pooped out on me, and I was determined to get the job done because there were a lot of cabinets. So I finished up the job with a screwdriver, and voila! I developed tennis elbow and tried to ignore it until one day on my commute to work, I couldn't even lift my coffee cup. Well, of course, that was the final straw for me. Fortunately, after neglecting it for 9 months, just doing 4 weeks of physical therapy corrected the problem. Now I make sure my extra battery for my drill is charged at all times. Other activities that can trigger this problem include knitting, using a computer mouse, typing, doing yard work, playing a musical instrument, or repetitive use of tools like hammers or screwdrivers. Anything you do over and over for hours at a time can cause this problem. Stress fractures are thin hairline fractures of the bone. They are usually caused by repetitive impact force and overuse. Stress fractures are most common in the weight-bearing bones of the lower leg and foot. Women over 40 who are runners and do that activity on roads can develop stress fractures in their shins or feet. And this can happen due to the combination of impact, running on a hard asphalt surface, and loss of bone density. Starting a running program without easing into it also increases your risk of developing a stress fracture. Although it is more common for men, another injury that is likely to be sustained over age 40 occurs in the low back. Sedentary lifestyle, obesity, arthritis, and lack of bone density increase our risk for injury of the low back. And sciatica is a common problem caused by a low back injury. That's probably the most common low back problem I see in the office. Rotator cuff and bicep tendon tears are very commonly seen in perimenopausal and menopausal women. If you don't know someone who has had a rotator cuff tear, you must be living on another planet. Over time, normal wear and tear in the shoulder joint weakens the dominant shoulder, especially in people who perform frequent tasks that require overhead motion. I have seen so many patients who keep their heavy purse in the back seat of their car and tear their rotator cuff by repeatedly lifting that thing that's as heavy as a bowling ball from the back seat to the front seat. Be nice to your shoulders and lighten your purse load. Get all that stuff out of there and keep the thing in your front seat. An acute injury like a fall can also cause a rotator cuff tear. About 2 million people per year sustain this injury. Bicep tendon injury is also more common in middle age and often results from heavy lifting. Many times, the rotator cuff and biceps tear go hand in hand. Knee injuries are also common, and due to how women's hips and knees are structured, Along with hormonal changes and sometimes with taking certain medications, women are anywhere from 2 to 10 times as likely as men to sustain ACL tears. So that's your anterior cruciate ligament. Tears or ruptures. Either one can happen, unfortunately. And the likelihood of this increases even more after age 40. One of the medications that can really increase our risk for a ligament or tendon tear are antibiotics that are in the class called quinolones, such as levofloxacin, ciprofloxacin, or moxifloxacin. As you may notice, they all end in floxacin, if you are wondering what a quinolone is. When prescribing one of these meds, I always teach patients about possible tendon or ligament injury while on the med. And I also tell them that the risk for injury can continue even weeks or months after finishing the quinolone antibiotic. I typically avoid prescribing these meds altogether in athletes. If you are on a quinolone and joint pain or swelling occurs after starting the med, stop the med immediately and call your healthcare provider so you can be evaluated and an alternative antibiotic can be prescribed. ACL tears and ruptures can happen when you land awkwardly after jumping, when you twist your body and your feet are in a fixed position, or when you sustain an impact to your knees while your feet are planted. The meniscus, which is a rubbery cartilage disc, can tear when playing sports, but many people over 30 can sustain this tear doing everyday activities like climbing and going downstairs, hiking, kneeling, squatting, or just walking on uneven terrain or cobblestones. The classic symptoms of meniscal tear are pain in the side of the knee and knee buckling. So what can we do to prevent injuries after age 40? I will share that info with you after this quick break. The custom framing company FrameBridge will change your opinion of what true customization really is. They measure and handcraft each frame specifically for your piece. So you can FrameBridge just about anything: selfies, game day jerseys, your anniversary dinner menu, or latest artistic masterpiece. Just go to framebridge.com and upload your photo. If you have a physical piece to frame, they'll send you complimentary packaging to safely mail it in. Preview your item in dozens of frame styles. Choose your favorite or get free designer help. The experts at FrameBridge custom frame your item and deliver your finished piece right to your door. Instead of paying hundreds at a framing store, FrameBridge starts at just $39 plus free shipping. Order online or stop by a FrameBridge store near you to work with a designer in person. I received the thoughtful gift of a beautiful watercolor piece painted by one of my patients that deserved to be professionally framed and featured on my wall. I went to FrameBridge and chose my favorite combo of frame and matte and mailed the original artwork to FrameBridge. When I received it, it was carefully packaged and it was beautifully framed and exactly what I ordered, and came complete with the hardware to hang it. Get started today. Frame your photos or send someone the perfect gift. Go to framebridge.com and use promo code ITCHY to save an additional 15% off your first order. Just go to framebridge.com, promo code ITCHY. framebridge.com, promo code ITCHY. So, what can we do to prevent injury after age 40? If you are starting a new exercise regimen, start slowly and gradually increase intensity and duration of the exercise. If you jump into an exercise regimen, you are just waiting for an injury to happen. Since our muscles, ligaments, tendons, and cartilage are less stretchy at this age, it is important to warm up before exercise, especially first thing in the morning or if you're exercising outside in the cold weather. Add balance exercises to your routine. These can include toe and heel raises, a chair pose, and one-leg stands. Increase your mobility by making sure you have your muscles go through their full range of motion. For example, do circular motions of your neck, shoulders, and ankles several times a week, or better yet, every day. Building core strength is so important. I know they are not everyone's favorite exercises, but planks and Supermans are key to strengthening the core. Again, if you were just starting these exercises, start slowly and work up to more advanced positions so you don't give up. Important pieces of doing planks correctly, including remembering to breathe. I know that seems simple, but people hold their breath when they do planks. Remember to breathe. Don't collapse your lower back, and don't stick your butt up in the air. Probably that last one is a good general tip. Anyway, Pilates is a really good option if you enjoy taking classes in person or online. Pilates is an exercise regimen that really focuses on core work. Do strength training. Lifting weights really helps build muscles, and if you do exercise that will build all muscle groups, it helps avoid overusing certain muscles to compensate for weaker ones. Strengthening hip muscles is especially important in terms of avoiding falls. If you don't know anything about strength training, make sure you get guidance from a trainer or physical therapist when starting. Make sure to check your form during exercise. Use a mirror or work with a trainer to make sure you are using proper form while you exercise to avoid injury. Stretch after exercise or after daily activity like walking your dog. However, don't overstretch. You don't want to force your flexibility. Include isometric exercises, which involve holding the body in a position with no muscle or joint movement for a set period of time. This helps build muscular strength and endurance. Have functional fitness in your life. Basically, be an active person. Gardening or cleaning your house are examples of functional fitness. The most common injuries in women over 40 are overuse injuries, so it's important to mix it up when it comes to your exercise regimen. Changing up your routine allows you to rest some muscles and joints and use others. Try using a foam roller that targets your back, hip flexors, quads, and butt. Foam rolling is a form of self-myofascial release and self-massage, but tends to feel a little more intense than massage. You can go to websites like tonal.com, tonal.com, to see how to use a foam roller if you aren't aware. Listen to your body. Try not to push yourself during exercise to the point of going from uncomfortable, which is normal, to painful. Incorporate rest into your workout routine. After age 40, it may not be wise to do high-intensity exercise 6 or 7 days a week. To avoid injury, mix up intensity and build in rest days. To recover more quickly after exercise, eat protein after a workout. It helps with avoiding soreness following exercise. You can get better absorption of the protein if it is combined with some light carbs. A good option is Horizon Organic Shelf-Stable Chocolate Milk. Could they shorten that name maybe? It has a 3-to-1 carbohydrate to protein ratio, which has been shown to aid in muscle repair and replenish energy store in athletes. And it doesn't have to be refrigerated. It also contains beneficial micronutrients. Omega-3 fatty acids have anti-inflammatory properties, so they can help with recovery after exercise. Plus, they provide other health benefits. You can get this nutrient by eating fatty fish or walnuts. You can also take a supplement of omega-3s, and the Horizon chocolate milk I just mentioned with the long name also contains omega-3s. Even though we are aging, don't let that stop you from exercising. Doing regular exercise is key in preventing falls and injuries. And if you have an injury, see your healthcare provider to be evaluated sooner than later so the problem doesn't become chronic. Learn from my unwise decision to let my tennis elbow go for so many months that I couldn't even lift a coffee cup. Many thanks to FrameBridge for sponsoring today's episode. Please visit our Facebook page, I&B Podcast, where you can leave comments or questions for me. Our website is itchyandbitchy.com. There are blogs there with some of our subjects available for you to read. If you are willing to help me with my research, you can find the link to schedule a Zoom meeting with me on our Facebook page or our website. Your willingness to help will allow me to develop the best possible online course for perimenopausal women. As always, thanks to Forrest Wenzel, our producer and composer of our theme music. Check out his album called An Awful Lot. Go to wherever you stream your favorite music to listen, and if you don't know where to stream music, you can find the album on Apple Music or Spotify. Remember that your health is in your hands.